Ever wonder why the number 1 is just a straight line, but the number 8 looks like 2 loops stacked on top of each other? We use these symbols every single day without a second thought, but the journey of how figures 1 through 10 were created is actually a fascinating mix of ancient history, practical necessity, and a bit of artistic evolution. Long before we had fancy apps or calculators, our ancestors needed a way to keep track of their stuff, like how many sheep they owned, or how many days had passed since the last full moon. In the very beginning, humans used the most portable tools available, which were their own fingers. This is exactly why our modern system is based on 10, because we have 10 fingers to count on. But you cannot exactly send a finger in the mail to tell someone how much grain you owe them, so people started making tally marks on bones or clay. The number 1 started as a simple vertical stroke, representing one finger or one single stick. It is probably the most intuitive symbol in human history. The numbers 2 and 3 followed a very similar logic. In ancient Brahmi scripts from India, which is where our modern numbers actually originate, the figure 2 was just 2 horizontal lines and 3 was 3 horizontal lines. If you look at these ancient symbols, they look like the equal sign or a stack of pancakes. Over time, as people started writing faster and faster, with pens and brushes on materials like papyrus and later paper, they began to connect these lines without lifting their hand from the surface. Those 2 horizontal lines eventually morphed into a curvy shape that became the 2 we know today, and the 3 horizontal lines became our curly number 3. It was all about the speed of the scribe. As we move to the number 4, things get a bit more complex. Some theories suggest it represented a cross or a specific configuration of 4 lines that eventually got joined into a closed or semi-closed shape. By the time these symbols traveled from India through the Arabic world and eventually into Europe, they underwent a lot of branding changes to make them more distinct from one another. The number 5 used to look a bit like a hook or a handwritten heart, but as it was standardized, it took on its characteristic sharp top bar and rounded belly. This helped distinguish it from the number 6 at a quick glance. One of the coolest stories involves the idea that these numbers were designed based on the count of their internal angles. While historians debate if this was the original intent or just a clever way to remember them later, it is a fun way to look at them. Think about a blocky number 1 with a little serif at the base. It has one angle. A zigzag number 2 has 2 angles, and a pointed number 3 has 3. Whether this was the actual blueprint or just a happy coincidence, it shows how humans look for patterns in everything they create. The numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9 continued this evolution of convenience and clarity. 6 and 9 are essentially mirror images of each other, reflecting a kind of mathematical symmetry. 8 is a master of efficiency, a continuous loop that represents the concept of a larger quantity that is easy to write without lifting the pen even once. 7 is particularly interesting because its design has varied wildly across different cultures, sometimes appearing with a crossbar and sometimes without, but always maintaining that sharp, distinct, cliff-like shape that is hard to confuse with anything else. But the real game changer in the story of 1 through 10 is actually the number that represents nothing at all, which is 0. Without 0, we would not have the number 10 as we know it today. Before the 0 was perfected in India, people used empty gaps or weird symbols to show an empty space in a large number. Once the circle for 0 was established, it allowed us to create a positional system. This meant that the number 1 could sit next to a 0 to represent 10, signifying one full set of fingers and nothing left over. This breakthrough changed mathematics forever and allowed for the complex calculations that eventually built the modern world, from skyscrapers to the device you are holding right now. The transition of these shapes into the ones you see on your screen right now was not an overnight success. It took centuries of merchants, astronomers, and scribes passing these symbols along the Silk Road. When the printing press was invented, these shapes were finally locked in and standardized, giving us the universal language of math that we use today, regardless of what country we live in or what language we speak. It is incredible to think that every time you write down a phone number or check the price of a snack, you are using a visual system that was polished over thousands of years of human history. If you found this trip through time interesting, make sure to let me know which number you think has the coolest origin story. It is amazing how much history is hidden in the simple things we see every day. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more deep dives into the origins of the world around us, feel free to follow or subscribe for more. See you in the next one.